Hari Om, Bhagavad Gita, Moksha Sannyasa Yoga, chapter 18, verse 30. In the last verse, Bhagavan Krishna said, Hey Arjuna, please listen. Buddhi and Dhriti, they are of three types. I will explain to you in detail without leaving anything to doubt. That is what Bhagavan Krishna said. I think Bhagavan addressed Arjuna as Dhananjaya not because of his wealth. I think, in my humble view, knowledge is wealth. All other wealth, it can be stolen, it can be plundered by somebody. But the knowledge if you possess, nobody can steal it. It will remain always with you. In fact, if you share that wealth, then it will increase. Any other wealth, if you share, if you have a land, 1 acre, and if you give half acre to your brother, then 50% directly gets reduced. You earn money. Before that, it hits your account. Several expenses, it reduces. But knowledge is different. Knowledge, if it is shared, that wealth which is shared, it always increases your knowledge. So all other wealth will decrease. That is why I think Bhagavan called Arjuna as Dhananjaya in the last verse 29. In fact, Thiruvalluvar says, Tottanai Thurum Manarkeni, Mandharku Katru Anaithu Oorum Arivu. That is, there are two interpretations. Keni is a well, which is there in every village, there will be a well. The more you draw water from the well will give you more good water. Otherwise, it will stink, it will get spoiled. Similarly, the more you read, the more you get knowledge. That is one way of interpretation. Another way of interpretation is the more you share with others, the more clarity, the more understanding you will have. That is another way of interpretation. So, in my view, now Arjuna has a wealth of knowledge. That is not enough. The knowledge which he has obtained till chapter 17 is huge knowledge has been given. Is that enough? You have the knowledge. It is like I told you, it is like spanners there. Which spanner you have to use for which screw? That is the knowledge. So the knowledge which he has earned, Bhagavan has given him so much of knowledge up to chapter 17. He has to apply that knowledge to the problem in hand. That is intellect. I think that is why Bhagavan introduced the topic here. That is intellect and perseverance. That is the topic which Bhagavan is talking about now. So, in the last verse, when Bhagavan addressed Arjuna as Dhananjaya in verse 29, I think Bhagavan meant, hey, Arjuna, you possess knowledge. I do agree, but you have to use your intellect. That is why he addressed him as Dhananjaya. That is what I think. Verse 29. Now, verse 30. Verse 30. Pravrittim cha nivrittim cha karya karye bhaya bhaye bandham moksham cha yaveti buddhissa partha satvigim. Again. Pravrittim cha nivrittim cha karya karye bhaya bhaye bandham moksham cha yaveti buddhissa partha satvigim. What is Satvic Buddhi? Swami Dayananda Saraswati says, The buddhi that knows that pursuit of karma is the cause for bondage. That is pravritti marg. But when the same karma is done as karma yoga, then it involves karma pala tyaga. That is renunciation of results of action. Then it becomes nivritti marg. That is, it becomes a cause for moksha. So even though you perform action, if you perform action with karma pala tyaga, then it is not really pravritti marg, but it is nivritti marg. When there is renunciation, then it is nivritti. Even though one may be engaged in n number of activities throughout the day, 24 into 7 he may be working. Bhagwan Krishna himself is the example, karma yogi. Who else is a karma yogi? 24 into 7, non-stop, millions of years he is working. But he is a karma yogi, not attached to any results of action. Actions will be carried out on its own. So even if you perform action, if you renunciate the results of actions, then it is not pravritti marg, but it is nivritti marg. Swami Dayananda Saraswati says, when activities are carried out for the sake of antakarana suddhi, that is mental purification, with an attitude of surrender to Bhagwan, that is Ishvara Arpana Buddhi, then it releases one from bondage. Then the result is moksha. Swami Dayananda Saraswati says, mental purification is not a karma pala, as the mind is already pure and clean. That is why everybody has love, sympathy, compassion, etc. Nothing has to be added to the mind, but only the raga dveshas of the mind have to be removed. Raga dvesha, why it has to be removed? Because it is a cause for impurities. It is a cause for your anger, your hurt. You hurt somebody because of that. Himsa, etc. Whatever bad qualities you have, the impurities you have, the reason is ragadvesha. Removing impurities is not karma pala, but it is getting rid of something. If you get rid of something, then it is tyaga. Sannyasa is definitely nivritti marg. But even a karma yogi is not doing any action for any punya or for the sake of heaven or anything else. If he has moksha as the end, if your final goal is moksha, that is the end, then his buddhi has discrimination and is therefore Satvic buddhi. He knows if he pursues any other purushartha, like artha, kama, or even dharma, because moksha is it is also a purushartha. But if he pursues these three, then all of them will come under samsara, because you will fall under the cycle of births and deaths again and again, because you will gain punya. To exhaust the punya or pava, you have to again take a birth. So you get stuck in the wheel of samsara. He seeks only moksha, that is knowledge. The person Satvic buddhi, he seeks only moksha. Moksha is nothing but knowledge. He knows that the cause for bondage is pravritti, and the cause for moksha is nivritti and not pravritti marg. Bhagwan Krishna says karya and akarya. That is, karya means those actions that have to be done, such as enjoined karmas. Vihita karmas. Akarya means those actions that are not to be done. That is prohibited actions. Nishiddha karmas. Simply put, Swamiji says there are worldly do's and don'ts and Vaidika do's and don'ts. Laukika and Vaidika. One has to interpret the do's and don'ts according to time and place, taking into account a number of factors. So every time there could be confusion, whether it should be done or not to be done. So there are several factors which are involved in that. One has to take into account those actions, those factors. There only the intellect will guide us. Again, Bhaya and Abhaya. Satvic minded person knows what should be afraid of and what he should not be afraid of. One should be prudent in his decision of what one should be afraid of and move away from that. And what one should not be afraid of. Satvic mind also knows what is bandha, that is bondage, and what is moksha, that is freedom. This person knows that ignorance is the real bondage. He has to get released from that bondage. That is moksha. So, moksha is therefore self knowledge. The buddhi that knows this is Sattvic buddhi. That is what Swami Dayananda Saraswati says. What Swami Chinmayananda says, we will see tomorrow. Simply put, in this verse, Bhagwan says, pravritti and nivritti. If you perform actions, merely performing actions, expecting a result, then it binds you. Nivritti is doing karma yoga. If you do karma yoga, then you don't expect any particular result. You surrender the result at the feet of Bhagwan Krishna. Hence, those actions will not bind you. Then one should know what should be done at a particular situation, what should not be done. That also, because of the discriminative intellect, one will know that. Bhaya and Abhaya. You should be fearless at certain times and also fear certain things. That also the discriminative intellect will teach you. Then bandham moksham. What actions will bind you, and only this knowledge will release you from these bondages. What is that knowledge? That knowledge is Aham Brahmasmi, Tattvamasi. That is the knowledge. Once you gain that knowledge, it releases you from all bondages. The buddhi that knows all this is Sattvic. This is my understanding of Swami Dayananda Saraswati's explanation. Swamiji has given a lot of explanation on this. I have given only the gist of it in this. Tomorrow we will see what Swami Chinmayananda says. Verse 30 again. Pravrittim cha nivrittim cha karya karye bhaya bhayem bandham moksham cha yaveti buddhissa partha satvigim. Next continuation tomorrow. Arihom sarvam krishnarpamastu. Narayana 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 Narayana